Welcome to RenewHer, the podcast for women over 50 who are ready to explore what's next and cultivate a mindset built for growth, resilience, and possibility. I'm your host, Janelle Lemley. Here we share real stories of women who have stepped beyond their comfort zones to take on bold new challenges, whether that's starting a business, taking on a physical challenge, changing careers, redefining success, or saying yes to something that once felt impossible. Today's guest is someone whose energy you can feel the moment she enters a room, or a Zoom call for that matter. Giselle Carson is one of those women who makes you believe expansion is always available at any age, in any season. She embodies strength, discipline, curiosity, and heart in a way that's both powerful and deeply human. So I'm going to read her bio, and then we'll move on from there. So here's her bio. Giselle Carson is a powerhouse U.S. corporate immigration and compliance attorney who partners with businesses to secure visas and green cards for top global talent, keeping them competitive in a rapidly evolving marketplace. A two-time immigrant herself, she brings unparalleled expertise, strategic insight, and a relentless drive to simplify complex immigration processes for employers. An award-winning author, Giselle wrote Beyond the H-1B, a guide to work visa options, and co-authored All Out Impact, and recently launched her highly anticipated book, The Corporate Immigration Advantage, in April of 2025, offering companies a game-changing blueprint for hiring and retaining foreign talent. Beyond the boardroom, Giselle embodies resilience. She's a 5-time Ironman triathlete, a 25-time marathon finisher, and a Leadership Florida and Leadership Jacksonville alum. Her passion for excellence extends to every facet of her life, making her the go-to expert for businesses ready to win in the global talent race. Visionary, strategist, trailblazer. When it comes to corporate immigration, Giselle doesn't just advise, she empowers. One more thing I want to add is a fun fact that she is also an award-winning ballroom dancer, something I think would be really fun, but haven't taken up yet anyway. So our focus today will be on the boardroom aspect of her life and the impact endurance events have had on her personal and professional life. Giselle and I met a couple of years ago in a mastermind, and I remember being instantly drawn to her energy. As part of that mastermind, we also co-authored a book together with the other members called All Out Impact. And reading her chapter gave me a deeper window into her journey, her immigration story, her reinventions, and the mindset that has shaped how she leads and lives. Whenever there was a Zoom call, she was walking. Meetings, conversations, check-ins, she was always walking. And honestly, by the end of this conversation, you may feel so energized you'll want to sign up for a marathon or maybe at least go for a walk. Giselle, welcome to RenewHer. I'm so grateful you're here, and I have been looking forward to our conversation. I have so many questions for you.
I am thrilled to be here, and I do hope that at the end of this conversation, it will inspire those that are listening to go and do a little walk. I literally have to tell you, I was talking to a client of mine the other day, and out of the blue, he says to me, Giselle, I have to tell you, you've inspired me, and I've ran 2 10Ks, and now I'm going to sign up for a marathon. I'm like,
See the impact you
whatever.
have?
But I mean, to me, exercise it's key to our well-being. We want to. It's not just the physical part of it; it's the mental strength that it gives us.
Big piece of it, right? Okay, so
Let's
ready
do
to
it.
dive in? Okay, all right. So actually, I want to start at the beginning because your story of immigration feels foundational to everything you've built. You immigrated from Cuba to Canada at 14, not speaking English, arriving with very little, but as you've said, with resilience and hope. Looking back, what did that season teach you about endurance, uncertainty, and who you needed to become to survive and eventually to thrive?
So, I mean, as I look back in my life, and I have challenges every day. And we forget where we've been and what we've learned through those challenges. And it's part of life. I think life is 50-50. 50% of it is going to be positive and we're happy, we're joyous, and then the other 50 is kind of overcoming those challenges. So as you said, yeah, my roots are in Cuba and immigrated to Canada when I was 15. So it was the quinceañera. My parents gave me as a surprise for my 15th birthday a trip. And that plane landed in Canada. I never said goodbye to my family or to my friends. My grandparents passed away and I never saw them again. Everything stayed in Cuba. And my parents told me, well, after a few days in Canada, we're here to stay. My rebellious personality said, I don't think so. You're staying here. I'm going back to Cuba. But anyway, that passed. But it was tough. It was tough. I didn't speak English or French. I landed in Quebec, in Montreal. So I learned French to start going to school. And literally, I say, kind of reinvented myself for the first time because I learned English, French. I graduated, left Canada as a Canadian citizen. So went through the whole immigration process there. I arrived in Canada only speaking Spanish. I left speaking English and French. I arrived in Canada at 15, left when I was in my 20s. I'm married. So, I mean, within a few years, huge changes that push me to keep overcoming challenges. And then my husband and I decided, with kind of, I guess, started with me, can we move to Florida? Climate for sure, with more of what I was used to. But similarly, I came to the United States now on a work visa, which is better than asylee in a way, but worked my way through to becoming a U.S. citizen. I arrived with a bachelor's degree in physical therapy and decided to go to law school and became a lawyer. Was not an endurance athlete in any shape or form. I didn't have the interest, the knowledge, the time. And I'm Ironman finisher, actually 29 marathons. Well, actually, I'll run my 29th ultra marathon in 2 weeks from now. And that has all been, in myself to continue to grow. Tremendous discomfort throughout it all. But as I look back, I would do it all again because of who I'm becoming.
That's so amazing. When you were in those moments, when you were 14 to 20 and you had all these changes, were you ever, I don't know if you're say scared, or did you think about
Every
it, or you
day.
basically
No,
just
no,
plowed forward?
No. And that's a good question because I think that people think, oh, she just goes out and she does whatever she does because she's motivated and just, I couldn't do it. Everybody can. We are all meant for this. And you're going to hear me say this a few times because I believe that we're in this world to grow. That is one of the things that we're here to do. And not to stay stagnant, but to continue to grow, to overcome challenges. And the more discomfort we are willing to accept, the fact that we're going to move forward. So no, imagine me walking into a school in Canada where I didn't speak their language. And I had to go to school and I had to make grades and my goal was to graduate. So I worked my butt off, if you want to say it. I worked very, very, very hard. I was very angry at my parents for various spaces of days. Overcoming fear, overcoming those challenges is a constant, but it just gets easier. It gets easier as you do it. And we'll talk about my most recent ultramarathon experience and how overcoming fears in the past helped me achieve kind of my flawless race in a way, which wasn't flawless in any, if you look at the word flawless as it is. But to me, it was like the most amazing experience. But because I have overcome so much and I thought back Okay, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this. Go in with that mindset.
So, do you want to talk about this, your most recent ultramarathon now, or do you want to wait a little bit?
You drive the bus.
So, actually, before jumping to that, I do have, because you alluded to your career itself. You went from physical therapy to medical malpractice, I believe, then to corporate immigration law, as you mentioned. How did you know when it was time to evolve or expand instead of maybe saying comfortable? And what did those transitions teach you
Really
about
good question.
yourself?
So I kind of mentioned that. So I'm glad you're pulling that back in. So when I went to law school, no one in my family was a lawyer. So that was another, it's so many unknowns. But I knew that that was an opportunity for me to continue to grow and to continue to contribute in areas that I felt that I had the capacity to continue to contribute and grow myself. So graduated from law school, I started practicing at the law firm that I still practice today, 25 years later. So I had my medical background. I started in the area of litigation, medical litigation. It just kind of, it felt like it connected. I was speaking actually a few weeks ago and somebody asked me, a young person, well, how do you decide on, what do you want to do in life? And I said to her, you have to have passion. Whatever career you decide or whatever direction you take, it's going to get hard. It's going to get hard no matter what. So you have to have passion. You have to have determination for what you believe, and you're willing to work hard and smart to get whatever you want to go. So back to your question, I started litigation, liked it, mentor, and yet our firm, I loved working with him, and to this day, he's my mentor. But litigation was just not, I mean, it's one side fighting the other in a legal sense, money exchange. And that was, I mean, it wasn't, the passion wasn't there for me. So I decided to look back at my life. I mean, immigration has been my life, my personal life. It's a passion for me. It's a passion. I'm grateful to the attorneys that have helped me become a Canadian citizen, become a U.S. citizen. So I was like, this is something that I have a passion for, and I know that I can contribute to the world in this way. So again, another huge challenge. There was no immigration practice at our firm. So I started the practice from zero. I gradually transitioned from litigation, started studying, going to courses, training. I mean, I have pictures reading at night and, stack of immigration books, getting mentors, talking to people, getting first few cases in, getting my work out there, doing good work, adding value to our clients. And gradually the practice grew and grew and grew, and very established, reputable, well-regarded practice that I love. And we're helping our country thrive. And that fuels me every day. But it's been a challenge. It's a challenge every day. It's how do you approach it?
So, I mean, through that, obviously, you found your passion, it sounds like, in what you do.
Yeah. I mean, as difficult as this work is right now, immigration has always been difficult. It's a very emotional practice, regardless of the environment. People are leaving families behind. So for the employer, and my practice is corporate immigration. So, and I want to make this clear because I do get a lot of emails and calls literally before talking to you. Hey, I have an immigration question. Well, some immigration questions that I cannot answer on purpose because I want to be the best at what I do. And to me, that has been becoming a very niche practitioner. I'm employment-based immigration, so we work with employers who are hiring foreign talent. Many of those are already in the United States going to school, and they graduate from top universities in the country, and they have a job with an employer in the United States. So my work is partnering with those employers so that they can obtain work visas, green cards for that talent that is very loyal. They're hardworking, they're innovators, and they typically stay very long with their employers and adds tremendous stability to the workforce. Now, in the environment that we're in today, where immigration is very volatile in all aspects, and again, I'm right now speaking just legal immigration, my clients are afraid to go out. They're afraid to go to the work site, even though they have full papers, they're here legally, but they don't look American. Some of them don't, and they're just because of how they look, they're afraid to go out. That's not America. To me, that's not the America that I love, and that most Americans love. I think we've gone a little bit, not a little, we've gone way far out there, and I hope that comes back somewhere into the center, because this is not sustainable for our country.
It's difficult in many areas in respect to that, and hard. Yeah.
So that is that passion, is that knowledge, literally. And when I email my team, because they're getting the emails too, and I was like, we were meant for this. We have overcome, private administration for 4 years. We survived. Our clients did well because we were here to guide them and help them, because we remained calm and strategic rather than, raising our hands up and saying, we can't do this. And we talked a little bit about this before we started. You just have to step back, pause, and not overreact, because otherwise it's chaos on both sides, and that doesn't help anybody.
Right. I'm going to shift gears a little and go back more to the athletic aspects, because endurance athletics seem to maybe, I don't know if this is the right word, but to say entered your life almost unexpectedly.
Absolutely.
Or you weren't necessarily
Absolutely.
planning for it. So like you said, you went from never running a marathon to completing almost now 29 across five. Is it still 5 continents, or is it more now? 6. It's just so amazing to me. And most recently, you started on ultra marathons. And so did I miss anything in
Dancing
there
with the Stars.
as far as your accomplishments? So I'm curious, how old were you when that first yes happened, that you opened yourself up to doing an event?
It was actually in law school. So that's, late 20s, early 30s. So, as a lawyer, as a student, you sit a lot. I was reading tremendously amounts and sitting a lot. As a physical therapist, I was very active. I mean, it's just part of the practice. You're walking with your patients, you're exercising with your patients. That was just part of my life. And I go from that to being extremely sedentary. Now, I didn't run marathons or did anything like that. I held my clients, I showed my patients, but it wasn't part of my life. And then when I started going to law school, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do something. This is not the way I want to live. I mean, I knew literally from working with my patients as a physical therapist that I admire the ones that stayed active and, they retire and they climb mountains and they ran marathons and they took back road trips and bicycles. And I mean, to me, and that's my goal. So how do I get there? And the way to get there was I started a 5K, and another 5K, and another 5K. And then somebody was like, well, there was this 10K. What are we doing? And I was like, so there I went. And then I had a friend that ran the Boston Marathon. At that point, I had not run a marathon in my life. The most I had done and I had no intentions of running a marathon, let alone Boston Marathon. So she's like, Giselle, I just came back from Boston. This is right up your alley. You have to do this. The energy in the room, the people, it's just you. I'm like, are you kidding me? I haven't run him. There's no way. She's like, just start. And that's like everything. That's how everything starts. You just take that first step, make that goal. So I thought, well, I mean, the worst that could happen is I don't qualify or I can't do it. So I started training. And I qualified for Boston on my first marathon. It was a Jacksonville marathon. Now, granted, I couldn't walk the next day, but I had no idea of how to pace myself. I was learning as I was going, but I did it, and that just kind of started my endurance training or my endurance life, I guess. And after I ran Boston, is a Boston Marathon for those that are runners, it is epic. It is absolutely amazing. Out of my 29, 28, I've run Boston now 6 times. And it just it and I qualified for this and I didn't run this year because I'm doing the ultras and Cape Town. So it just didn't fit the schedule, but it's amazing. So back to that's how I started, and that's how anybody can start. I wasn't a unicorn. I'm not a unicorn. And, and then Ironman, it was a similar situation. It's something not obvious, something that I wanted to do. Never had time to train. Couldn't figure out how to do it. I had done halves, and then again, oh, I qualified for Boston, but something happened anyway. I didn't. Long story. The registration closed, and my name was, long story was like I couldn't run Boston. And I was crushed because I had trained. And anyway, someone said to me, well, just said, what is something else that you wanted to do, you haven't had a chance to do yet? And I'm in train.
So did you, if I understand this, so you went from marathon to Ironman?
Marathon, cycling was part of that. I had to learn how to swim. It's an Ironman.
Okay. Well,
But
right. But so did you do any
no,
smaller
idea, of course.
triathlons in the
No,
meantime?
now there are some people,
Okay.
there was some, my husband, for example, went right into his first. But that's a different conversation. I did various sprints. I did Olympics. I did halves. And then I did an Ironman. But I mean, it's a big jump, even from a half to an Ironman. The volume of training that you have to put in there while working, while building a practice. It just, and again, it all goes back, to how we started speaking, the mindset. I mean, there were challenges all the way. I mean, you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You have to be in the pool at 5:30 in the morning, and then you have to go to work when you're potentially tired. I, train in the morning at 5:30 and had to run at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and then start all over the next day. But I had that fire in me that this is something that I wanted to do. When I finished my first one, it wasn't like checked off, I've done. I wanted to do more. And part of it was the structure that it forced me to have. And people think sometimes, I mean, I have a little planner that every day, I write in the things that I'm going to do. For some people, that's boring and they can't handle it. That's how that gives me freedom. That and the structure training for an Ironman or a marathon or an ultra, it carries into other areas of my life, and it allows me to be able to manage the work that I need to do for my clients, all the uncertainties that come with it, because my mind is already trained, at least in that area, to be calm, to adjust, to shift, to go beyond I'm getting up and just taking that next step and saying, oh, this isn't too bad, and keep going.
You've answered some of my questions within that, which is great. Let me just go back just for a moment. When you finished that first endurance event, did you know right then and there that you were going to do more? Or sometimes people like, I am never going to do that again, like I did. And then the next day I'm like, oh, maybe I could do.
So for me, it has been, I'm doing this again. As tired as I was,
Okay.
the first Ironman I crossed the finish line with a smile. And then after that, I was in the medical tent. So I was depleted. I mean, the adrenaline got me to the finish line. That determination, that passion. I was not giving up and I was crossing the finish line, and I did. But I mean, and you've seen athletes cross that finish line and they then collapse. I didn't collapse necessarily, but they did take me to the medical tent. So it was like, I mean, I had put it all out there. But no, I had that feeling I was good to do it. So, I mean, and we've kind of touched on this ultra marathon. So one that I just did was in December 7th, somewhere in there. And it's one that I had done. So my first ultra was 10 years ago, exactly, 2015. That was my only ultra. And back then, and it was the same one that I did in this December, I said to myself, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this again. I had no idea when. The timing had not arrived. I just knew in the back of my mind that I was going to do that course again. And now, and there's other things that have happened in my life. I'm in a rental home for various reasons. I just thought I had so many challenges that I was looking for something that would help me ground myself again and give me hope and get me back into alignment. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm doing that ultra marathon that I promised myself 10 years ago that I was going to do. And I did. And after I finished that one,
For you.
I said, I'm doing another one. And now the next one is 2 weeks from now.
Of course, there's the physical aspect, that sense of accomplishment from physical. But then there is the mindset, the soul. I mean, that when you cross that finish line, the feeling that it gives you. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, did you feel that it gave you more confidence that if you set your mind to do anything, you can do it? Can you talk a little bit about that sense of
Absolutely.
accomplishment?
I mean, to me, the sense of accomplishment is not just at the finish line. It's every step of the way. So that day, this particular ultra called the Iguana 50K. And it's preserved. It's beautiful. There is 4 loops of 6 point something. I can't remember, 5 and something. I can't remember the length, but it's 4 loops. I trained, I prepared. The day of the ultra, it rained all day. I checked the weather again and again in the hopes that it was going to change. So the event was on Sunday. Saturday, I spent the whole day looking like, come on, just stop. You wanted to run Iguana? Run Iguana. So I was like, okay, here we go. I wanted to do this. I'm going to do it no matter what. And then, so I have, and you may remember this, I ran Antarctica. That was my 3rd marathon. I thought, if you ran a marathon in Antarctica, you can handle, and one of my Boston marathons, I wouldn't say it was 2016, somewhere in there. The weather was horrendous. Again, rain all day, but not just rain. We had hail, we had wind, headwinds. I mean, if you look back, and I think I can't remember the year, if it was 16, it was the worst ever. People were going into the medical tents. There were DNF. I mean, it was just bad. And so again, I thought, you've done that. You've done Antarctica. So what? It's going to rain. Big deal. Go for it. Worst that can happen is I stop somewhere and say, I'm giving up. But I knew I was going to finish. So I went in the rain. I was the last person to cross the start line. And it wasn't on purpose. I had a bra that had the foam on the back. And I couldn't get the thing in because I had a jacket on top of it and I wasn't used to it. So here I am, the gun goes, everybody runs, and I'm trying to get my thing. And I was like, oh, you have to be kidding me. And then the watch, I had to start it. I mean, this was the beginning of the thing. And everybody is out there making the first turn. And I'm still standing at the finish line playing with my phone and my watch. But I thought, that's okay. This is your race, not their race. You have a plan. You've trained. Follow the plan. So I started my little run. I was the last for probably the first 5-6 miles. And because it's a loop, some people were coming around and flying by me. It's okay. This is your race. And to your point of, that excitement at the end of the finish line, no, I had that excitement every time I crossed and I literally said to the counter guy, this is my first. Okay, here we go. 3 more. And the last one, I was like, soon you'll be seeing me back soon. And that last one was hard. But as I passed certain areas, I was that tree, bye. This is the last time I'll see you today. I mean, I just, the curiosity too. Oh, I wonder if that puddle is getting better or worse. I mean, we had to go around the puddles. It was, yeah, it was chaos. But after that, I was like, I felt I finished less than half an hour. So I was aiming for a 6.5 finish time. And I finished just under 6 hours. But I had a plan. I followed the plan. I did get sidetracked with whatever anybody else is doing. I mean, sure, I deviated here and there, but I adjusted. And the whole time, 6 hours, I was in a high, like I wouldn't say high, in a flow state, literally. Taking in nature, taking in my surroundings. Okay, this is the pace. I'm going to walk, run. There's the puddle. I'm going to go there. I need my go now. And it just, people were passing, high five, blah, blah. And then eventually I started passing them because I had a plan. I was very, very consistent on my speed and what I was going to do. And most of them started out way too fast. And, 5 hours in, your body starts reminding you that you've been doing this for 5 hours in the rain. And I had all the energy in the world. Literally, actually, they were drafting, some of them drafted with me. And it's that camaraderie too, when you're running with other people that push you forward. So I finished with actually a friend that was in the race with me. And when I came in, I came up to her, probably we were 4 miles from the finish line. And I said to her, we're going to do this together. We're going to stay. And I just adjusted my pace and we ran in together across the finish line together. So the whole day, like I said, it was a lift, not just crossing the finish line. As I look back, I'm like, this was great.
Part of it too, like you said, is the journey.
Correct.
The training, the discipline, everything that it took for you to get to that point. And there's something to be said too, I think, in these events about the community.
Yes.
Of other people, inspiring each other, supporting each other.
Yeah. So you remember when I was coming in, as I did the laps, we were cheering each other. I mean, with the people that were passing me or I was passing them, it was like we were competing against each other. Like we were competing against ourselves as to whatever we could do, the best that we could do that day for us. And yes, the community is amazing for anyone that is in any sports, really. Those communities are so valuable. I mean, for me, even right now with an ultra marathon. So this was my second. Now I'm going to do my third. And I mean, I had to get new. I mean, I didn't have trail running shoes. What I used in Antarctica was not going to work here because those were Gore-Tex. In the rain could have worked, but they were too heavy. I mean, a whole bunch of things that I'm learning that it's brand new. But by talking to other people, oh, how do you do this? How do you do it? It's that sharing that goes back and forth. That is so good. And again, that carries into your work life. That carries into your day-to-day life.
Right. The importance of supporting each other and helping each other and not
Correct.
necessarily competing
Correct.
against each other for the good of the whole,
Correct.
essentially, and
Correct.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that was the event that's maybe stood out the most to you?
I mean, it stood up in a sense that, again, I'm at a time in my life where, and many of your listeners may be too, we may think or may be told, or we're in our 50s, 60s, whatever life, you've lived your best life. And I'm of the mindset that no, I am literally beginning. You know how many times we hear, well, I would like to be where I am right now, but with, at 20 years old. And, you want that body, that energy, blah, 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 with the knowledge and the stability potentially that you have now. And I'm like, that's exactly like I am making an effort to stay physically and mentally fit and have the knowledge and that mindset of a more seasoned person and carry that for the next 50 years. So to me, I am like at the prime of my life. And what I have ahead of me, and all of us do if we think that way, is amazing. It's just amazing. I will complete my seventh marathon, my seventh continent marathon this year. And then I have a whole bunch of other goals after that. And but goals with my own practice. I mean, I've published a book now, my second one relating to immigration. That takes time. That takes passion. It's time that I could have been running or could have been doing watching movies or doing whatever. But again, to me, it was also a tremendous learning experience, the discipline to come in here every day and write a little bit every day, do the research. Again, and that carries from the exercise on the endurance part of my life to other areas. And that's why I adore doing all of this. And that's probably why when I finish one, I'm looking for the next one because I know what it does for me. I'm so much mentally strong. It's not the physical piece so much because literally when I was training for the second one, it's funny because gosh, that trail is hard. It's very technical. The one that I'm going to be doing in 2 weeks is designed for mountain bike, not for necessarily trail running. It's a hiking and mountain biking trail. So people use poles to hike it, mountain bikers. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do here? So the first time so I ran the trail the first time without signing up for the event. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to sign up for this because I fell, I twisted my ankle. The course was not clearly marked because it's not a running trail. And then I thought, okay, this is something you want to do. Step back, come back another time. This was your first trial. You cannot just give up here. And I came back the second. I've been going there for the last 4 weekends. It's an hour from my house. And I go, I train. But the last 2 weekends that I've been there, I've found runners that are preparing for the race. And I stopped them and they talked to me. Hey, tell me about the race. How do you train? I mean, I have no idea if we're going counterclockwise or this endurance events are a little like part of the event is that they don't tell you things ahead of time. Things like the Boston Marathon, I know the course inside out. This one, I have no idea if I'm going to be running counterclockwise or clockwise. It makes a huge difference. That uncertainty and overcoming that uncertainty is powerful. So I, again, talking and then they told me, oh, we don't know and they won't tell you. So we run it one way and we run it the other way. So that's what I've been doing. Anyway, to the point that last weekend I was there, I ran 20 miles on that trail. And I felt comfortable and confident enough to sign up. So I did. But it took me a few months. So going back to, the certainty of, I prepare, I started to train, I talked to people. How do I feel about this? And one of those times before I had signed up, I was just mentally exhausted. And I stopped I walked, stop, walk, stop, walk, got to my car. I was done mentally. And 5 minutes later, I was like, I could have done another loop. I knew physically I could have done another loop. There was no reason why, but my mind was exhausted. Exhausted because it was so new to me that I was overusing energy just to get to the next tree or get over the next rock or over the next whatever challenge was. And that was draining me. And it wasn't physical. It was up here. Now that I've done it enough times, I'm like, okay, I can deal with this.
Yeah. It is amazing how powerful, if you want to say, the mind is, and how it's so integral to the event and,
To our
to what you're
lives.
doing. I think sometimes that mindset is harder than
Absolutely.
the physical
Oh,
aspect.
it is for sure, Janelle. It is for sure. I mean, we underestimate what we can do every day, every day.
Because you actually shared in a recent LinkedIn video that you almost didn't sign up for this third ultra
Correct.
marathon, right? You asked the question, have you ever wondered what's possible beyond your fear? So I guess a combination question here. In those situations, maybe whether it had been in work or now when you're taking on new challenges like you do, I mean, fear, I'm assuming, shows up possibly. How do you work around that? Or what do you feel causes the fear? And how do you get through it? How do you get through that? Because I think that stalls. I know it has stalled for me on occasions, but you have to learn to work through it.
One of the ways to work through it is work through it the first time. That's the hardest. So again, just like to some degree, I just explained for this ultra that I'm training for, just getting out there onto that trail for the first time, it was extremely hard. So that is, to me, that's the hardest. You just to get started. And once, I mean, it's almost like, I mean, for people that are writing books, you hear all the time. So you actually, do you know Stephen Pressfield, the author? Stephen Pressfield?
Yeah.
So he talks
Yes.
about resistance. He has a whole book. And I actually, in one of my training runs, I was listening to his book. I know it, I would think it's The Art of War. The Art of War. And then the second part of that is, I think, Becoming a Pro or something to that effect. But both books are about resistance, and we all have it, all of us. So I encourage people that have this question, literally is all of us, to listen to what he had to say, because he also talks about his resistance to sitting down and writing his book. He's an author, that's his job. But it doesn't come that naturally to him. He has to get started. And once he gets going, well, oh, well, I can do another 10 minutes. Oh, well, I can do another. And the other is habit. Once you start creating that habit, it's like brushing your teeth. The first time in kids, when they're starting to learn to brush your teeth or eat the vegetables. And then it's like, think about it, you got to brush your teeth. So getting over the first resistance, keep going because it will get better. Having that community also that you have, like I said, the running community we talked about, or that at work, the same thing, the immigration community. I mean, they're rallying and supporting each other. That's a huge part also of overcoming resistance and fear, because you're not alone. You have other people that are there lifting you up. And then making it a habit in the sense of, the sports or work. And once you can create that habit, the energy that is required to get it done is so much lesser. And now you can move that extra energy onto something new. That's how I moved from the marathon to the, swimming to the Ironman, because now I have a foundation to build from. And that's beautiful. When you can, stack and stack and stack and stack, and it helps. The next challenge is not as difficult.
Yeah.
And that's why I think for all of us, we're at a stage where we have overcome so much. I mean, we're talking now about what I have, but everyone has overcome challenges. And my message is literally what I did with this ultra is, okay, tell me what I did. And I'm going to kind of read this to you because I put life execution translation plan. I have my 50K, prepare and trusted the training. How does that translate into life or work? Build systems, trust them, and trust myself. That's what I did for Iguana. I prepare and I trusted the plan. I trusted what I had, despite the chaos around me. Reset early and consistently. Yeah, there were challenges. There were puddles. There was, my glasses fell off. I fell. The water's, whatever was in it. I reset. I pause. And I did that consistently. At work, don't wait till we're depleted. We all do that. We all wait, 4 o'clock, we keep pushing. I am the worst getting beyond the email. I cannot pull away from the emails. I need to learn them. When my brain says, you got enough, you have to walk away. 10 minutes, go outside, take a breather. It rejuvenates your mind. Adjust the plan without panic. I mean, when it started raining before I left my house, I was like, okay, what do I do in the rain? I'm going to have to pull back my speed of whatever I wanted to do. I need to have some protection from the rain. I know I'm going to get cold very quickly. Adjust. I work, pivot without self-criticism. I can't control the weather. I can't, it's beyond. So how can I adjust to whatever chaos is happening? Focus mile by mile. That's what I did. 1 mile at a time. I wasn't thinking about the 50K, the 31 miles, 1 mile at a time. Every mile was a win. Focus on the next best action at work or whatever else that you're doing. No drama when it got hard. It got hard. There were a few times in there, I was like, are you creating another freaking loop? No, this is what I signed up for. It's okay. I'll be stronger at the end. So calm, mindfully execution under pressure. And the last one, finish strong. I knew I wanted to finish, and I wanted to finish with a smile. I wanted that positive, and I do, and I did. End the days and the weeks proud, not exhausted. So that was like, and I read this almost every day to kind of say, okay, you do it here, that translates into life.
Yes, so much so. I love that you did that comparison.
Yeah, so
it's all aspects.
Yeah. And I have to remind myself, because it doesn't come naturally to me. Like I said, I mean, I could be behind the computer all day long, and it stings me because I know I need to walk away. I mean, my brain is telling me, you're making mistakes. And I'm like, no, just one more. You can't. You just...
So I can see how, too, now, like you said, that you want to keep doing these events because you see how much it's translated into your other parts of your life, whether it maybe be personal and or professional. And it just makes you a stronger person, overall.
And you feel better. You are much better to the world. And that is also amazing.
Very true.
So it's not like it's selfish. Yeah, I want to feel better. I want to do everything that I can do better for me. But when I feel comfortable and confident and have energy and I can recharge, I am so much better for everyone around me and our world. And that's so awesome.
So many women listening may be thinking, that sounds inspiring, but I just don't have the time, right? You've built, as we've talked about, an extraordinary professional life. You do these amazing endurance events. You're doing ballroom training. I mean, you have a family, all of that. Well, we talked a little bit about the importance of having habits to help reduce that restriction, or reduce the friction, I should say. What, if anything, did you have to stop doing, if you will, to make space? And how do you protect that energy now? Or what would your message be?
Yeah.
To others?
You have to decide And what is important for me is different than what is important for others. What I give up, and Amy, that's a very good question because I even talked to my husband now. And I'm like, oh my God, all those movies that we went to watch and all the restaurants that we went to when we were physical. So my husband is a physical therapist. And back then, again, we were not doing any of this endurance events. We were not doing any of this training. Our life was, we worked as physical therapists. We went to every new release, we were there. That was part of our life. We were proud of watching the new releases and going to the new restaurant that opened up in town. That has gone from my life. Going to a movie is a huge treat. In fact, I think it was 2 years ago with my husband's birthday. And I said, Jeff, what would you like to do for your birthday? We're going to do whatever you want to do for one day. And so we bicycled that day. We had kayaks and we took the kayaks on the intercoastal and we went for dinner and then we went for a movie. That was 2 years ago. And that was the last time that I've been to a movie theater myself. Like, I watch some movies here, but so that's a part of my life. There's restaurants here that are opening up. I have no idea, and I have no interest. It's just my interests have changed, or I have adapted to facilitate the things that I know. Another example. I mean, when I was doing the ballroom dancing, and those parties are at night. They start at 8:00 and they finish at midnight. Well, I know that if I'm there until midnight, there's no way I'm going to get up at 5:00 in the morning to go to train. So I was like, you know what, Cinderella, I have to go. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. Goodbye. So I have to make my own rules and not break them. And just, this is the line. As for business, I go to a lot of events that are evening events. There's beer and there's wine and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. And I excuse myself and I just go, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy, whatever. But this is my other. So that's one. I mean, you just have to make it. That doesn't work for everybody. But I've made it work for me because I know my bigger priorities, what they are. So that also gives me the time.
One of my favorite quotes of yours from that chapter, I think ties into this, was growth requires us to release, create space, and create the unknown.
Thank you for bringing that up. So that's how I create space. That's how I release things that they just don't fit into what I want to accomplish next. And I have to be comfortable just saying, okay, I'm letting. Because again, it's kind of like drinking from that full cup. You just can't add anymore. It's going to overflow. So you have to let go, release, allow, create space, and you can absorb something else in. So for those, and we are all guilty of this. Let's just add more. Let's add more. And we feel good. Yeah, we feel
better,
good
right?
Because you know what? We're adding more. But you can't. You just can't. And you have to be, as hard as it is, let go of certain things, create a space so you can bring in more.
You recently wrote that turning 58 felt like a quiet but powerful reminder that the possibilities are still endless. So for women listening who may quietly wonder if they're too old to try something new, what do you want them to understand about this stage in life, and why do you believe midlife can be one of the most powerful and expansive chapters, not winding down, but a beginning?
I absolutely, and I really, really hope that anyone listening to this, whether they're 50 or they're younger, I mean, we may have people, I wish I would know what I know now when I was younger. Again, it is what it is, and I take it all as it's been presented to me, and I'm not changing anything. But so for the youngers or the elders, but particularly the elders, because it's the audience that we're talking to, again, I was afraid. You don't know how afraid I was when I turned 50. I have no idea why. But 49, I was one of those thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just at the top of the mountain and it's going to come right down. I was so, I mean, hormonal changes. There's so much that was happening. And I look back and I'm like, I've mentally and physically transformed myself to a much better person working through this 8 years. It doesn't happen overnight. I read a ton. I read a ton on positive mindset. I try to, I mean, my mentors, virtual mentors, are people that I admire. I mean, sometimes you don't have the ability to meet in person, but I look at people that are doing things that I think are fascinating and just trying to say, okay, how can I get closer to that? How can I adapt my life? And I keep on saying to myself, one of my favorite books too is called, I think it's called Comfort Zone, or I think it's called Comfort Zone. But anyway, the whole point is overcoming discomfort. That is what is going to make us grow. Let me see. The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easton. It's not a book that I would have picked up necessarily, but I was listening to a podcast by Peter Attia, and he's one of the ones that I, a mentor in a way, in a sense that he's overcome a lot of health challenges. He's a mindset and longevity guru. And so I listened to his podcast, and he was interviewing Michael Easton, and Michael was talking about his book and da 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 da. And I was like, I got his book, and it's fascinating. And it's all about overcoming comfort. We're just too adjusted to, that's not, our ancestors evolved because they had to overcome comfort. If we don't, we're not going to evolve. We are meant to overcome discomfort, overcome fear, overcome anxiety, so that we can be the best version of ourselves. So for those 50-year-old women, I say, if you want to be the best version of yourself, if you want to thrive in your 50s, 60s, 70s, overcome discomfort. That is one of the biggest things that you can do to be the best version of yourself. And we can't. We were meant for this. We were meant to grow.
Yes.
We were meant to evolve.
I know. For me, when I get too comfortable, I get bored. So, but it is hard to work through that comfort zone.
It is.
In anything.
And again, it's just how I'm saying it. It may sound, for people that are listening, oh, it is so easy for her. It's not. It's not. When I was training for Iguana, one of those times on that trail, I fell 6 times on my knees. And I got up, took a breath, and said, no, we're not giving up. We're going to finish this lap. I could have raised my hand up and say, I'm done. And many people do. But I just know that that's not what the best version of me would do. And if I want to aspire to be her, I need to act like her. And eventually I will be the next version of me. But if I keep holding back, oh, I fell, now I can go. No, that's not going to make me grow. Now, of course, if I had a broken ankle and all that, that was bleeding. That's how, no, 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, that would have happened to me. And yeah, I probably would have said, I'm done. I can't. So I'm not saying if that happens to you and you say, I'm done, that's wrong. I was there, but I have grown on purpose. And that's what I think whatever you are today, I would challenge them to pick something. I mean, we talked about so much. They can work on habits. They can work on mindset. They can work on their next endurance event, like my client did. He wasn't a runner, now he's doing a 10K. Whatever it is, pick one thing that out of this conversation, you can look back at the end of the year, or even look back at the end of this month. Pick a little goal that is going to bring you to the next goal. So at the end of the year, say you want to run a 5K. Well, start with a mile around the block. And at the end of the month, celebrate that. And then Find other people that are doing the same thing. Talk to them, encourage each other, that accountability, that community, and keep building. I mean, we've given tons and tons. And again, this was not easy. It's not easy to learn different languages, to adopt, to adjust to living into different countries. Go from physical therapy to becoming an attorney, go from no exercise to endurance to talking to you. you know, this is all new. This is all new. I mean, this didn't exist 5 years ago that we could get into these conversations on Zoom or whatever it's just, and now we have AI. The world is evolving so quickly that we have to work on our minds so that we can continue to evolve as quickly as the world. And we can. That is my message. There is no restriction on what we can accomplish except for what we believe that we can do or not do.
Like the saying, if you think
right.
you can, or if you think you can't,
Correct.
You're right.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So before we close out, I just want to ask if there was anything else you'd like to add to our conversation.
No, this has been
today.
Pretty awesome. I want to say thank you for the opportunities. It's so great. I mean, we did a lot of work together. We did a book together. And it's so, again, this is a community. Coming back to this, we met 2 years ago. We connected.
Yes.
You have accomplished big, big things. You've overcome a lot. And we haven't talked about any of that because I'm the guest on your show. But, you have overcome tremendous, tremendous challenges. And they have grown you and they have made you who you are today. So for the listener, hopefully they'll look you up to and know your background and see how the amazing things that you're doing. And now you're doing the podcast so that you can continue to expand that knowledge and that energy. So I am just grateful.
Yeah, I really want women to embrace the fact that your age is a number and you can continue to do whatever it is that you set your mind to.
And you've mentioned times that, that you've seen things on LinkedIn and that you've brought in. So, yeah, I mean, I do have a very active presence on LinkedIn. Some of it is my immigration work. That's one of my ways to contribute to the community. If they want to have someone that they can trust and follow, that it's not going to create noise, but tame the noise in my professional life. But also, I do believe that other part of my life, the one that we've talked about today, the endurance, the wellness, the mindset, I do talk about that on my LinkedIn profile because it's part of who I am. And I think it's also an inspiration that we all need. So if they want to follow me, they're welcome to.
Yeah, we will. I will be, I should say, putting her links like LinkedIn and any other links so that you can learn more about her in the show notes. So make sure to check that out. And I think this conversation is such, if you want to say, a powerful reminder that growth doesn't require rushing or forcing or proving, but rather it requires presence, consistency, and the courage to keep choosing forward motion. Because your story from immigration to reinvention to endurance shows us that expansion is always available when we're willing, again, to step into that discomfort with intention and with heart. So again, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your energy, and your lived experience so generously today. And to everyone listening, if this conversation stirred something in you, please honor it, take one step, just go for that walk, or maybe just sign up for that one thing, whatever it might be, because trust that steady effort to carry you forward. So until next time, keep renewing what's possible. And again, thanks so much, Giselle.
Bye.